Next on American Greed, there's a pickle in a shoebox. See who left the pickle in a shoebox. Next on American Greed. You guys ever watch that show? I love the way that guy talks. I'd love to have his job. Like, next on American Greed, this little piggy went to the market. This little piggy cried, wee, 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 all the way home. See what happens to the piggy that cried, wee, 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 all the way. Oh, my goodness. What's cracking, people? All my new subs. Yo, I've been getting, like, mad subs. I cut my hair the other day. I tried. I don't like going to the barber. It costs too much. So I've been cutting my hair for like 25 years. I did go to the barber about last year sometime. I paid like $30. I haven't been back. I'm good. But so I've been practicing up on my barbering skills. You know what I'm saying? Almost got a high top. It looks all right. Cut my hair. It looks all right. Anyway. So I've been getting a lot of feedback from my, remember these pics? Back when everybody had natural hair. Now everybody's hair is... Yeah, anyway. So I'm from Pittsbugh, all right? So you guys know this by now. Big ups Pittsbugh. Pittsbugh, man, one for the thumb in 81. Love Pittsbugh sports, That's back when I watched football all the time. Baseball, the Pirates, Roberto Clemente, you know what I'm saying? Goose Gossage and all those guys. So I was heavy into sports. Franco Harris, Terry Bradshaw. I was even into hockey. We had one of the best hockey players ever, came out of Pittsbugh. So Pittsbugh, that's why they have one for the thumb in 81, because we won in hockey, baseball, and we won in football. And that's why they called it City Champions. And somebody had commented on me going and saying that Houston is going to win. Listen, all I said was I can see Houston winning. You know what I'm saying? I can see Houston winning because I can see another city becoming a city of champions. This is why I was like, last year I could see Cleveland winning the pennant because that would make Cleveland kind of like what Pittsburgh did, city champion, but they would need 3 champions. So I was like, if, Cleveland Cavs won, and then the Indians won, and then I don't know what else, what other team is in Cleveland. Cleveland, I don't even know if they have a hockey team. Yeah. But I'm from Pittsburgh. One of the reasons why I left Pittsburgh is when I was living in Pittsburgh back in the 80s, and then I left in the 90s, but I grew up, of course, in the 70s. Pittsburgh did not have the gangs were not feared. We didn't have a lot of gangs in Pittsburgh where I'm from, and I lived in the hood, so I lived in a few hoods. Big ups to all my Pittsburgh subs, because some of y'all are from PA. And some of you are from Philly. Big up to Philly, too. Been there before. So, but I used to date a girl from Philly. See what happens to the girl from Philly. Next on American Greed. Now, anyway, she was cool. But nonetheless, so I'm from Braddock, Pittsburgh. You know what I'm saying? And right now, Braddock is changing. And it was a place where in the 70s you wanted to go, in the 60s and 70s, because all the gangsters hung out there, but it was a thriving city. But the gangsters weren't like gangsters that come up and just blow your head off or nothing. They were hustlers, pimps, and, but it still had a thriving city. It was a thriving black city back then. That little area in Braddock. But what happened is a lot of those people, left there, but they used to do stuff like drive their, stolen cars in the river and just, let it, because there's a bank there that you can just walk down into. And it goes so far underwater, and then it has a drop-off, and next thing you know, you're gone. So, they were putting bodies in the river, but I wasn't around then because I was born in 67, so that was back in the 50s and 60s when they were doing that. And then in the 70s, a lot of that had stopped. When I was there, I didn't see a lot of gangsters and stuff like that. You didn't. You knew people sold weed, but that was just like nothing. That's when a lot of families were. It was all about the family. It was all about. Um, it was a very unified place, but it was all about territories too. So we had. Let me tell you. Let me put it to you like this: Braddock had a beef with North Braddock. Braddock always had a beef with Rankin, and I think that beef spilled over into gangs now. Like I think those two areas beef with each other and actually go out and do harm against each other in serious detriments. But when we did it, it wasn't really like that. It was like our football team is better than yours. But nonetheless, when gangs and territorial beefs really started happening, there was a group of family. It was a family. There was three of them. I'm not gonna say their names, but nonetheless, there was a sister, two brothers, and a cousin. And the two brothers were huge, bodybuilder type huge, but they were really, really strong. And they always had these Rottweilers. So what they would do is come down into our area, and they would have these huge dogs, and nobody wanted to really mess with them, but they would pick out the biggest person, and they would jump them. That'd be it. They'd be like, who's king of this hood? And they would find out who it was, and they would jump on them. And eventually they got to, one dude, he was a real cool, he was like a gentle giant, but he was strong. Like his family was very quiet. They didn't do much. One of his brothers in his family, they was he had some mental issues, so he kind of really stayed to himself, but I liked him. That was my dude because he could run, and running was a big thing. And he never fought. And the one time they went after this guy's brother, the one who ran and never fought, he ran away from him so fast that none of them even bothered to pursue him because he took off. Like they swung on this dude, and he was like pew, and he was gone full stride. So just like we're gonna do what to this guy? We're not gonna do anything to him. That dude ran home so fast it wasn't even. And everybody knew he was notoriously fast. So, but dudes who ain't from our hood, they didn't know. So, he just took off running. But what they did was they caught up to his older brother. And his older brother was Diesel, naturally strong. He didn't even lift weights. He was like a Bo Jackson type of dude, but he was real quiet. He would come down on the court, play ball with us and stuff, and everybody knew how strong this dude was. You just can't mess with him. He get into a fight, he sound like a gorilla. He would just start throwing people around like it was nothing. But, when you have that type of reputation back in the day, when it come to fighting, somebody's going to challenge you. And they challenged him, and they found out that they couldn't beat him one-on-one. Even lifting all those weights, they just couldn't handle his natural strength. And once he let that bear out, it was just over with. But nonetheless, they came down and jumped him, beat him up real good. So once we found out that that type of thing was going on, there was one prominent person in our hood when I was growing up. I was about 14. And this guy was our favorite. He loved everyone. He was huge, like 6'3", and he loved everyone. And he walked around the hood like this. And he was a character, but he never came out and was like, I'm gonna kick your butt, because he knew the majority of the people there wasn't even a challenge for him. It just, so nobody messed with him because he wasn't coming at anybody. He just was him. Well, they found out who he was, and he was pretty much the king of our hood. He was the king when it came to strength and anybody fighting him. It just, you had to jump this dude. And that's what they did. And then they pulled a gun on him. You know what I'm saying? So one of them held a gun on him, a skinny dude. And the two big brothers beat up on him real good. And eventually, I remember him telling me, he was like, yeah. I said, man, I heard what happened to you. He was like, yeah, man, I'm going to get them. I'm going to get them one-on-one. Well, he must have told the wrong person that, because eventually they found him and they shot him and killed him. And it broke my heart because, he used to have weights out in the hall. We lived in the projects, rat roaches, man. It wasn't much to be hyped up for, but we go out and play and all this stuff. But this this dude would be like, man, come here, man. Show me how many push-ups you could do. Type of thing. You know what I'm saying? He was on us, man. He was just like, man, get down and do some. He was like a drill sergeant. And we loved him, man. Especially the 14, 15-year-old dudes, man. We loved that dude, man. He was great. He was great, man. So we would head over to his building. You know, there were 5 buildings, you know, A, B, C, D, and E. And I think he lived in D building. I lived in C. We go over to his building, man, knock on his door. You know, the youngins be at his door. Man, come on out, son. He set up the bench, man. We'd be out there cranking, thinking we doing something, trying to bench press. Because we wanted to be big like him. You know, we wanted to be strong. That's what our hood was. It was how strong are you, how fast are you. We used to have these huge races that were just impromptu races out of anything. So everybody had a reputation for something. Either you can run long distance. I was a long distance runner. You can middle distance runner, or you were a sprinter. My brother was a sprinter. He was the 3rd fastest dude. My stepdad was a sprinter. You know what I'm saying? So you had a rep for something. But one of the reasons why, even when I went back to visit Pittsburgh, I just couldn't live there. You know, the gangs pretty much took over, and then there was a massacre in Wilkinsburg, where a lot of gangs did a lot of crazy stuff. And, you know, I went to the Army first, you know, when I was 19, and I never lived back in Pittsburgh after I went to the service. But once the gangs took over, you know, and my brother started telling me, you know, and then my sisters were growing up, to 10 years younger than me. You know, and they were all telling me about the gangs. It was time for our whole family to leave Pittsburgh. And that's exactly what we did. We go back and visit, you know, the old hood, or, you know, and it's wiped out right now. The buildings are gone. There's a big old salt factory there. And it's right beside a steel mill. So the steel mill used to blow up that black smoke. It would come right down on our heads. And this is why a lot of us have asthma. Anyway, so I just want to share some of why I left Pittsburgh. If you guys like the story, I'll tell you guys some more about Pittsburgh. Anyways, I'm out. Peace.